This video links to lesson plan 3 in the BIMcraft book, and it's essentially building on the first lesson plan in terms of the planning of a classroom layout. The second video really then just talked about the process of building in 3D in the BIMcraft mod. And then this particular video and plan is about building the classroom, about building it in a 3D environment from the plans they've created. So the first thing to do is to navigate to the school. So again, you'd probably need to go into the fly mode here to access it. And we want to maybe walk over to the actual school building itself. So I think the first thing to do in terms of planning the lesson is to have a walk into the school and maybe jot down or note down the materials that are used and the materials that the kids may want to use in their own builds. For this particular project, we're not too concerned about the costs. It's again just looking at the materials that are maybe used in the building at this stage and trying to give the pupils an idea of what they might want to use to construct their own classrooms. You can walk through this at your leisure. Just to save time, I'm not going to do it at this stage. I'm going to go on and move through the process a little bit more quickly. So in terms of this build, there are really two options for the kids. They can extend the existing school essentially, so they can build an extension to it, or they can build a new classroom mobile outside the school in some regard. So it's up to the pupils what they want to do themselves, but maybe as a quick demonstration I might just build a classroom, a mobile externally, rather than link it onto the building itself. So to do that, the first thing I need to think about, and again this links into real life practice, in a school you would have pupils, you would have teachers coming out maybe using this area to play. In the BIMcraft world there's animals around as well, so health and safety is a big consideration. We've already thought about the health and safety clothing, but in a project like this you would need to use health and safety hoarding essentially to seal off the site before you would start to build anything. And again, that's just to stop the pupils, the teachers maybe accidentally falling into the excavated ground or accessing somewhere they shouldn't. So what we have created in the inventory, just by pressing on E, going back into the BIMcraft blocks, there's actually a hoarding material here that I can bring down to the hotbar, and I can use it to seal off the area that we're going to build in. So what you can see now is that we've essentially placed the hoarding, so no pupils, teachers, animals can access this area, and we're safe to start constructing. What I'm going to do is build a classroom maybe 6 meters by 6 meters, so something relatively small, but just to show the process of creation. So I might want to pick a start point wherever I think is suitable. I may want to leave a couple of meters just to allow access in behind the classroom. So I will start at this point and just start to excavate out the ground. So to save some time, I've just went ahead and excavated the ground, placed the concrete foundation, and then placed the floor essentially. So this is a building 6 meters by 6 meters, and what you need to remember is if you want 6 meters internally, you also need to leave room for the actual concrete or the block work around the outside of the building. So it needs to be a bit larger than that, and that's where the planning comes in. So at this stage we can start to place the blocks around the perimeter of the building, and again I'm just going to go ahead and place some of these and just give provide an overview of what has taken place. So in here, just to demonstrate how the corner blocks work, you'll see I have placed the blocks on each of the 4 sides, but I need a corner block at each of the corners for insulation continuity. So to do that I want to select the corner block. And the easiest way is just to navigate from above. You might need to drop down slightly and just place the block, and again just start to move around the building, make my way up to each of the 4 corners and simply place the block. So obviously I will need windows and doors in here as well, but I just wanted to demonstrate how that that could be created or how that could be constructed. So at this stage I've just went ahead and created a very basic build. So coming out of the main school building, we can go over and walk up to the outbuilding, open the door and come inside. So in here, as I said, it's very basic floor structure created, just a couple of tables in here to show how that works, and the glass blocks and a roof. In this particular build, it's best probably to use the glazing, the default Minecraft glazing. Whenever the players are only getting used to the game, there are a lot of implications in terms of the structural stability whenever a lot of glazing is utilised. So maybe in the first instance, it's best to go into the standard Minecraft blocks and use the glass option. That's the first thing I would recommend. Also, whenever creating a roof, if I maybe just take away a couple of blocks here, I went in and created a ceiling structure and then placed the insulated roof on top of that. And again, that's down to the structural performance. Sometimes the roof, depending on how high the building is, needs something to rest on. So you may need to put in a ceiling block and then place the roof on top of that. So once the door's closed, I'm going to just check the temperature internally using the thermometer tool. So if I select the floor, so it's a particularly good build. There's a lot of insulation in the floor, in the walls, in the roof, above the ceiling there. So it's 27 degrees internally and 5 stars. So that's a very quick introduction as to how a classroom could be constructed. So again, a very basic build. It's not necessary to use all the Bimcraft blocks at this stage. You can mix and match between the existing Minecraft and the Bimcraft blocks, but that's a very basic overview as to how a sample classroom could be built. Moving forward then, creating the house, creating the water treatment facility. It's a very similar process, but the added, I suppose, complication is using some of the structural elements and trying to make the building a little higher, incorporate some of the structural steel support to make sure that it's able to stand essentially.